Okay, we will begin our October 22nd, 2024 Board of Education meeting. Ms. Raymond, please let the record show that all board members are present this evening. I will turn it over to Mr. Hall, who's going to introduce us to the students who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. Good evening, board members. Tonight, we are honored to introduce two students from Harrison Elementary School to lead our Pledge of Allegiance. Please welcome brothers Trey and RJ Coppage. Trey and RJ, will you come up? So according to their principal, Mrs. Amy Fleming, Trey and RJ exemplify what it means to be true Harrison Huskies. So this is what Ms. Fleming says about Trey and RJ. Their unwavering integrity shines in everything they do at school. These brothers set a positive example for their peers. These dedicated students consistently demonstrate Harrison pride through their hard work, their respectful behavior, and their commitment to excellence. Well done. Their presence enriches their school community, and we are fortunate to have their family as part of SPS and our Harrison community. That is great. So if you are here to show your support for these students, would you please stand? All right, Trey and RJ, now we're ready. So when you're ready to begin, please lead the Pledge of Allegiance. And those who are able to stand, please do and join us. You can stand right here. You can stand right here if you want to.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tell everybody bye. Wait till. Oh, look. It looks like you're going to get a picture taken.
Well done. We'll now continue with honoring excellence this evening, and we'll begin with service anniversaries. Tonight, we begin annual recognition of staff members who are celebrating significant service anniversaries during the school year. This year, we have 26 employees who will achieve 25 or 30 years of service with SPS. Between now and December, we are inviting these special employees to join us so that we may recognize their dedication to SPS and to our students. With us this evening are 4 employees who have been with SPS for 25 years. The first is Shannon Bossing. Mrs. Bossing, would you come forward? Mrs. Bossing is a 4th grade teacher at Harrison Elementary School. Please join us in thanking her for her dedication to her students. And Dr. Latham, Ms. Kincaid, if you'll come forward, we have a presentation. Yes, right there. Congratulations to Mrs. Bossing on 25 years. Next, we would like to introduce Julie Curry. Mrs. Curry, would you come forward? Mrs. Curry is a kindergarten teacher at Harrison Elementary School, and we congratulate her as well on achieving 25 years of service with SPS. Congratulations, Mrs. Curry, on 25 years with SPS. Another Harrison teacher celebrating 25 years of service is Katie Fry. Would you please come forward? Mrs. Fry teaches first grade at Harrison, and we congratulate her on her lengthy career with SPS. Thank you for your service. Congratulations, Mrs. Fry. And finally, we invite Shelley Woods to come forward. Mrs. Woods is a nutrition services worker at Pipkin Middle School, and we thank her for her commitment for the past 25 years of service. Thank you, Mrs. Woods. Congratulations. At Springfield Public Schools, we are proud of the work that is being done to expand career technical education opportunities for our students. These high-quality programs, which help ensure students are success-ready when they graduate, wouldn't be possible without dedicated and passionate teachers. Tonight, we are honored to recognize one of those teachers. Andrea Hill, would you please come forward? Andrea is a marketing teacher and sponsor of DECA and FBLA at Glendale High School. She was recently awarded the 2024 Missouri Association for Career and Technical Education Marketing Educator of the Year. This award recognizes the finest marketing teachers at the secondary school level who have demonstrated innovation in the classroom, commitment to their students, and dedication to the improvement of CTE. One example of her successful work is the school-based enterprise at Glendale called The Nest. She helped start it in 2012, and since then has expanded from a storefront at school to include an online store. Her students have also supported the Tournament of Champions by creating a store which is the sole provider of apparel and accessories for the highest attended high school basketball tournament in the United States. Please join us in congratulating Mrs. Hill for being named Missouri ACTE Marketing Educator of the Year. Congratulations. To conclude our recognitions tonight, we are pleased to honor the October Employee of the Month for Springfield Public Schools. This recipient was nominated by a colleague and said his contributions were vital to the successful deployment of several new initiatives this school year. His nominator wrote this, quote, "He has worked countless hours to help bridge the gap with Remind, Seesaw, Canvas Grade Passback, and SmartPass. He has worked tirelessly to create training materials, add connections to Canvas blueprints, meet with vendors and trainers, and collaborate with all divisions to create the best experience possible for our teachers and leaders. He has done all of this with kindness, patience, and a level of expertise that has been comforting of others. We are so thankful for his work." Let's watch this video to learn more about Thomas Murky.
Hi, my name's Thomas Murky. I get to be integration coordinator here. I serve out of the curriculum department, which is a great honor because I don't have to write curriculum. I help the curriculum coordinators and the directors. I help to make sure that all of our digital resources are functioning and accessible for both our teachers and our students. I work to enable that in the easiest, smoothest way possible. Through the spring and the summer, I got to help implement Seesaw and Remind as family communication tools. Canvas Grade Passback to enable Canvas grading in that system so that teachers don't use Teacher Access Center for inputting their grades. And then Smart Pass as a digital hall pass that is used at our buildings that serve students. And
I'm going to bring that back and start it over so we can hear. There we go.
grades 6 through 12. We use technology every day in so many different ways, organizationally, management-wise, and just enabling things to happen smoothly. And so I like helping people do what they do well. And we have such a strong team here in the curriculum department. They are super good at what they do. And for me to get to help them, help the teachers, for me to get to help them with increasing student learning is a really cool thing that I get to do every day.
In our department, he really is someone we rely on to step in to be a partner, a thought partner, a collaboration partner, an integration partner to make sure that anything that we're adopting new in our curriculum department in any of our content areas is going to be seamless and easy for teachers and will reach students in a way that will best benefit student outcomes. He's the guy that everybody would want on their team. He just has such a team mindset, and I think that he provides a lot of relief for our team, not only because he has a really fun personality on our team, but because he's always willing to step in and take the lift from someone else and just say, I can shoulder that for you, or I can take that off your plate, and I'm happy to do it.
It's a huge honor to be nominated as the Employee of the Month for Springfield Schools. I love the district, I love living here, I love serving here, and so thank you.
You don't want to say anything? Or we can picture. That's quite a fan club, Mr. Murky. That is quite the fan club. Congratulations. And that concludes honoring excellence for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. That brings us to item 2.04, approval of the agenda. Our recommended action is that the board approve the agenda as presented. Do I have a motion? Motion from Board Member McCoskey. Do I have a second? Second from Board Member Thomas Tate, and we will vote at this time. And we have a verbal vote from Board Member Mohammed Khani as an aye. Motion that the board approve the agenda as presented passes 7-0. That moves us to item 3.01, public comments. The Board of Education welcomes comments about the issues being discussed. The board uses this time in our meeting to listen to the public, but will not comment or engage with the public during this meeting. The board allows for up to 10 speakers per public comment period. The board president will call on the individuals in the order in which they signed up. Substitutions are not permitted. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes and will be timed by the board secretary. Comments must be acceptable for a business and family-friendly environment. Inappropriate language, gestures, or personal attacks will not be tolerated. It's inappropriate to address the board about individual students or individual staff members by name in open meetings. If you have concerns about individuals, these concerns should be addressed through the appropriate administrative supervisors, either in the schools or the district office. If you have materials that you would like to share with the board, please place them on the tray on the podium, and they'll be distributed to board members following the meeting. This evening, we do have 10 public speakers. Our first public speaker is Joshua Reeves.
All right. Good evening, board members. It's good to see you all. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm here today to urge you to vote against the proposed boundary changes for Jeffries and Mann Elementary schools. These changes would significantly impact my son, Everett, and many other children in ways that I believe would be harmful to their education, their sense of community, and their overall well-being. So my son, Everett, started kindergarten this year, and I remember dropping him off for his first day of school. I think I was probably a lot more nervous than he was. Remember going throughout the day, just my mind constantly wandering back to how he was doing. You know, was he fitting in with his peers? Did he like his teacher? Was he acclimating to this new environment well? Or was he on the verge of tears, missing mommy and daddy? And so I was able to leave work a little bit early, and I rushed over to Horace Mann to pick him up, and I thought he would greet me with this big, warm, relieved embrace. However, that was not the response I got. I got an eye roll, a groan, and a, "Dad, why are you here already?" The fact is, Everett loves Horace Mann. His teacher, Miss Sweet, and the other personnel at that school have done a wonderful job creating a safe, nurturing learning environment. And for him to be taken away from that would be devastating for him. However, that's not the only reason that I am opposed to this change. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense in my mind practically. Where we live is a part of the greater Park Crest neighborhood, which has been recently recognized as one of the business partners for Horace Mann. And it just doesn't make sense in my mind why he should go to a school that's further away when he can literally walk to Horace Mann. And we do that on a regular basis. It's, as I said, it's a part of our community. I'm a little concerned with just the timeline that this has come about. It was less than 2 weeks ago that we first heard about it, and now we're here to take a vote on it. I can urge you guys to reconsider this proposal and look at other options, including the community and those that will be most affected by these choices. Things like, I know there's several district programs at Horace Mann, moving them, and some other options available. Thank you so much for your time, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Joshua. Our next public speaker is Emily Reeves.
I don't know if these are allowed to be passed out before, but I was gonna maybe reference them. I didn't know if that was allowed.
You can go ahead and begin your public comment.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Good evening. My name is Emily Reeves, and I'm both an employee and parent of the school district. But the reason I'm here tonight is to advocate for my son Everett also. And future student Owen. Everett's 5, and he's in kindergarten at Horace Mann. Owen's almost 2, and he's a kiddo of parents as teachers. So with the proposed new boundary change, just like Josh spoke on, Everett would be one of the students asked to shift over to Jeffries. My other son, Owen, would also be affected by this because with parents as teachers, that's only a Horace Mann advocate, so we would switch over to the Jeffries advocate. My student, Everett Reeves, he loves his school, he loves his teachers and our neighborhood. Like most kiddos, he really thrives on structure and routine. I know he would be devastated and nervous with such a large shift, such as switching to a new school. We mitigated most of his kindergarten worries by attending all the kindergarten prep classes, kindergarten roundup, parents as teachers, and we went to the Horseman Park since he was 2 or 3. So he's pretty familiar with the school even before going there. My other son, Owen, has met with his current parents as teachers advocate since he was born, because we already had him enrolled with Everett. I understand the need to not overpopulate a school. I want my kid to have the best education, and an overcrowded classroom is not conducive to that. I would like to propose another boundary option for the Horseman District. The current proposed boundary is on Kansas Avenue. I put some maps in here, and what I would like to propose was Kansas Expressway. By extending the boundary to Kansas Expressway, you would be keeping the Parkcrest neighborhood together as a school. I also put a neighborhood map in here, and Parkcrest neighborhood runs from Kansas Expressway over to Campbell, and then in between Republic Road and Walnut Lawn. So that would be keeping that neighborhood together. I've also included some maps in the folder of some different points in our neighborhood on the part that's being asked to shift, and the distances that it would put us between Horseman and our house, or Horseman or Jeffries and our house. And I can tell you the range of miles from Horseman to the houses being affected in our neighborhood is 0.9 miles to 1.4 miles. And then the distance from various addresses in our neighborhood to Jeffries would be 1.9 to 2.7 miles. So that would be largely extending some distance between those homes. In closing, I would note that I love both working for this district, and I've always felt safe and welcome for my students to attend in this district. I do understand the need to vote for a boundary change. I would ask you consider a different proposed boundary change to keep our neighborhood together. With the current decision, the board and district notified my family 2 weeks prior to the vote, and we would like to see that study and would have liked to have more time, so we would just ask for that in the future, and that's all I'd like you to consider.
Thank you, Emily. Our next public speaker is Barbara Cross. At the end of public comments, I will.
Hello, good evening. My name is Barbara Cross, and our family lives here in Springfield. We are parents of a special needs adopted daughter, and we have also been foster parents for many years. As you can tell, we have a passion for kids, just like you guys do, and we want to see them excel. And we know that comes with the power of education and in a positive environment. We want our teachers to be able to instruct in a safe classroom with the proper tools that they need to be successful. Well, I am here to tell you why the Bible Bus of the Ozarks is one of the tools that you guys need. Release Time Bible Education is the official name, and it was started in Gary, Indiana by a public superintendent in 1914. In 1952, it was actually approved by the U.S. Supreme Court. A quick description of the program would be, first, we are a community-based effort with not involved in a specific church. Our curriculum is professionally written. It is based on non-denominational Bible principles only. We are completely free to the schools. We are insured. All of our volunteers are life scanned, and we are a 501c nonprofit group. Okay, now how it works. We come to the school office, we sign out the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders who have written parent permission to come to the bus. They are walked to the stationary mobile classroom. The children are never driven anywhere. We offer them a fun learning environment for them. We have songs, we have Bible stories, we do crafts, anything we can to inspire them. We talk about the love of God, we pray, we have share time, and we encourage and we offer support. God works on the heart. And that's where change begins. In our mind, we all know the rules, but our heart tells us to do the right thing or the wrong thing. And we teach and we encourage the students to develop internal controls, to be honest, to be self-disciplined, to be respectful to the parents, to teachers, and to the other children. I was involved with Release Time in Southern California for many years, and I have personally seen the changed life of so many kids, you guys, who have come through this program. And our kids in Springfield, they're hurting. And they're questioning authority. They're questioning themselves. And some of them live in difficult or in dangerous situations. And now these children act out at school just to get attention from the adult, because bad attention is better than no attention. Our teachers are getting threatened by elementary school-aged kids. What has happened? They have no God in their life. They have no hope. They have no self-confidence. They think they have to submit to no one, that somehow they're in control of the situation. This program is designed and proven to help these children. We need your help to get this going. So I'm leaving each one of you a flyer that has lots of details on it with our contact information. Please reach out to us by November 22nd with your permission to contact the elementary schools for meeting with the district liaison or the principal to explain the program in detail and how it can benefit their schools.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you.
Our next public speaker is Madison Henry.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Madison Henry, and I have worked as a cross-categorical special education paraprofessional with SPS for the past 5 years. Each day, I work directly with students in grades K through 12, providing academic, emotional, and behavioral support. These students, many of whom are under state custody, face significant challenges, and it is my job to ensure they are ready and able to learn. I am here today to present a crucial petition advocating for annualized pay for our educational support professionals. Educational support professionals like myself, including nurses, secretaries, cafeteria workers, parent educators, paraprofessionals, teachers, are the backbone of our schools. We create safe, nurturing environments where our students can thrive. By providing academic assistance, managing daily operations, and offering emotional and behavioral support, we directly contribute to student success. Yet many of these employees faced financial instability due to inconsistent pay. This uncertainty not only affects our personal lives, but also influences the quality of support we are able to offer our students. I initiated the petition after facing financial challenges myself over the summer when I was left without income for several weeks. Without a steady paycheck, I was unable to secure a loan to purchase a car. And despite searching for work, I could not find a temporary job. Businesses like Walmart and McDonald's did not want to invest in hiring and training someone for only a few weeks, leaving me, like many others, struggling to make ends meet. When I reached out to my colleagues, I learned that many of them had faced similar difficulties this summer. This is why I knew something had to be done. Restoring annualized pay would provide us with financial stability we need to focus on our roles without the stress of fluctuating paychecks. Educational support professionals are essential to the well-being of our students and the overall success of our schools. In my position, I work with children who have been placed in alternative schooling through residential facilities. These students, many of whom are going through incredibly challenging times, require specialized support not just in their academic work, but in their emotional and behavioral development as well. My background, which includes work as a youth specialist and detention officer, allows me to provide a unique level of care, helping students process their trauma and be ready to learn. When educational support professionals feel financially secure, we can offer the best possible care and focus fully on our roles. Financial instability, however, hinders our ability to provide nurturing and supportive environments that our students need to thrive. By restoring annualized pay, you'd be ensuring that those who support students are themselves supported, creating a better learning environment for everyone. Today, I am leaving you with an envelope containing over 1,000 signatures from SPS faculty, educational support professionals, parents, local business owners, and political leaders, and hundreds of community members who care deeply about our education. These signatures represent a collective call for restoring annualized pay. By investing in our educational support professionals, you're investing in our students and the future of our district. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Madison. Our next public speaker is Libby Wiseman.
Hello, my name is Libby Wiseman, and my daughter Molly is in 4th grade at Mann. She has been at Mann since her kindergarten year and absolutely loves it. I also have a 6th grader, Lucy, who is now at Reed Academy, and she attended Mann for K through 5th grades. I have been involved at Mann for 7 years as a parent volunteer and have served as PTA secretary and president, and I also substitute teach at Mann, so I am very familiar with the teachers, the building, the students. Our family lives on the west side of Kansas Avenue, and the proposed new boundary line of Kansas Avenue would directly affect us. If this passes, my daughter would need to attend Jeffries Elementary for her 5th grade year. I know this would be very devastating to her as she loves everything about Mann, the teachers, the friends she's had since kindergarten, the school spirit and pride that is very prevalent in the building. She is also excited for her 5th grade year for the fun things that 5th graders get to do. They get to record the weekly video announcements, deliver notes from the office, raise and lower the flag each day, participate in student council, and so many other things special to 5th graders. If the boundary line is changed, I beg you to please grandfather in the current K through 4 students who attend Mann now and allow them to finish their elementary days at Mann instead of making them go to a new school. I'm sure Jeffries is a very fine school, but it would be so sad for these students to have to start over learning a new building, new teachers, new friends, new schedules, especially some of them just for the 1 year. This change could cause unnecessary stress and anxiety to students who don't have the capacity to handle this type of change. I understand there will be an option for transferring back to Mann. However, transfer requests are not a guarantee and would have to be completed each year. For families with multiple students at Mann, it would not be a guarantee that all of their students' transfers requests would be accepted. Grandfathering in these current K through 4 grade students is the best option to make the most out of this less than ideal situation. I do understand the need to prepare for possible attendance increases at Mann, but as a directly affected parent, it is hard to support this when the demographic research was not shared with the public. It would be nice to know where the projections are coming from because there has been no new construction other than a senior living facility in the greater Parkcrest neighborhood since my husband and I bought our house in 2010, and there's no space for new construction in the neighborhood. Also, 2 weeks ago, the 4 third grade classrooms at Mann were cut down to 3 third grade classrooms due to not having enough students to support 4 classrooms. And in my daughter Lucy's class, 8 of her friends left Mann to go to magnet schools between the 3rd and 5th grade years. And I would say this is an ongoing trend with students leaving Mann for magnet schools. It's hard to understand the projected student population increase knowing these facts. When making your decision on this boundary line change, please take into consideration everything that has been stated. And if your vote is to change the boundary line, please grandfather in these current students so that they would have no issues continuing at Mann.
Thank you, Libby. Our next public speaker is Jeffrey Pettibone.
Good evening. I'm Jeffrey Pettibone, the Springfield MSTA president. This evening, you may notice that several in the room are wearing red. Springfield MSTA proudly supports the grassroots effort led by Madison Henry, the paraprofessional here in our very own district, to reinstate annualized pay for our hourly employees. We have many of our members sign the petition. We appreciate her dedication and initiative with this movement. I want to take a moment to thank Dr. Lathan and the Board of Education President Danielle Kincaid for the conversation that took place regarding the proposed boundary adjustments and the tiered start time shifts. Our members voiced their concerns about the proposed changes, and from that, 2 main themes emerged. The first being challenges in employee retention and recruitment at Westport K-8, and the effects that has on families and students. Secondly, the potential demographic impacts from the unintentional reinforcement of existing divides on the 8 affected buildings due to the boundary changes. Thank you for recognizing these concerns and valuing the hard work and dedication of the teams at each of the affected buildings. As a district committed to equity, diversity, and inclusivity, it's vital that we engage in further dialogue. I look forward to receiving further information as well as future collaboration with staff and families to develop meaningful solutions to the concerns our members have raised. Thank you for your time and dedication to our students, families, and educators.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Our next public speaker is Debbie Dexter.
Good evening, Board. My name is Debbie Dexter, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the Nutrition Services Department, specifically to bring up the struggles we have faced since losing annualized pay. Most employees in this department are mothers, fathers, and grandparents that chose these jobs to benefit of having the same schedule as their children and grandchildren. Annualized pay was a huge benefit to us because we knew what we were getting every payday, giving us a sense of stability and a peace of mind. Since we have gone to non-annualized pay, we are unsure of what we are getting. Every pay period is different. We find ourselves living paycheck to paycheck and are often devastated when extra expenses arise, such as a car breaking down or even getting sick. We are oftentimes having to do without those things, having to put off getting a haircut, much needed clothing, spending less and less at the grocery store in order to get the car fixed just to get to work. There was summer school that was offered, but that had filled up quickly, forcing many of us to seek work through the custodial and painting work offered by the district, which was appreciated and many did benefit from, but some were either never contacted or not offered work. There are also many of us in our department that are physically unable to perform the tasks that are offered for an extended period of time. We have lost several good workers after losing annualized pay and would like to keep that from continuing. We would love the hours that we work and so we could spend more time with our family, but we implore you to look at reinstating annualized pay and giving us peace of mind to our department again. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Debbie. Our next speaker is Laura Mullins. Yeah, she wasn't very loud.
Good evening. I'm Laura Mullins, president of SNEA. 2 years ago, SPS removed the option of annualized pay from our hourly employees, impacting approximately 1,200 individuals. At that time, many promises were made by the district to support these employees by offering opportunities to supplement their income during the summer months. Since then, the Explore program has been decreased to only 4 weeks for those who are actually hired. And despite the district offering work for July and August, only 80% of those expressing interest were able to be placed. Employees who attended summer trainings were not paid until September 15th, information that was not disclosed to them, essentially leaving them with no income to support their families during these months without pay. Additionally, a new federal law is going into effect on January 1st, which will cause dozens more of our current salaried employees to become hourly, resulting in even more SPS employees being subject to the instability that non-annualized pay brings. It's important to remember, as a previous district administrator has pointed out, that there is nothing about annualized pay that is out of compliance with any state or federal law or regulation, nor is there anything in board policy that prevents the practice of annualized pay. SPS's main concern revolved around employee complaints to state and federal entities. The solution to that is simple: allow employees the option to be annualized or not. This is a little to no cost solution to the abysmal staff retention rate SPS is facing. By committing to this change now, the district would have 8 months to prepare before the next fiscal year begins. Whether they eventually figure out how to get Oracle to do payroll or continue to process with their previous software that's already programmed to calculate annualized pay. And although the district might fall to the argument that they are being told annualized pay is not a recommended practice, everyone needs to remember that there are people at the end of the decisions that are made. This is why every organization that supports SPS employees have come together around this effort, including not only SNEA, but the Teamsters and MSTA as well. As we have heard from speakers already tonight, the impact on employees is real. Any successful organization knows that its greatest asset is its human resources. Please invest the same effort you give to overseeing this invaluable resource as you do any of the district's other resources. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Our next speaker is Karen Gonzalez.
I guess I got the memo about wearing red, but it wasn't intentional. Hello, my name is Karen Gonzalez. I'm a parent and a grandmother who is concerned about the direction of many of our Springfield students. I'm concerned about the safety of our teachers and administrators as well. And to help with those concerns, as Barbara Cross has already explained, we offer a volunteer-sponsored program known as Release Time Bible Education, or to us, the Bible Bus of the Ozarks. As you heard, Release Time was started in 1914 and was later approved by the U.S. Supreme Court in 1952, Zorak versus Clausen. Release Time has 3 requirements. 1, student attendance is voluntary with written parental permission. 2, instruction takes place off school grounds. And 3, no state or federal taxpayer funds can be used. Release Time is privately funded by churches, community organizations, and individuals. We have 2 well-vetted teachers on the bus,
and they teach in a fun learning environment about positive character development, respect for others and themselves, self-discipline, the stories of Bible heroes, the value of prayer, and how much God loves them. I'd like to give you an overview of a study that was conducted by the National Council on Crime and Delinquency within the Oakland, California Unified School District. The school district was one of the worst at-risk districts in California. The study concluded that the students participating in release time had significantly increased their literacy skills in the areas of comprehension, spelling, and vocabulary compared to their peers who were not in the program. A summary quote that was from the study is quote, Oakland Release Time's curriculum emphasizes themes that are consistent with positive moral and character development among youths that could set the foundation for future lifestyles that are free from criminal and delinquent behavior. In other words, the students used more restraint and were behaving better in their class. Bearing all of this in mind, we would like to start the release time program in the elementary schools in Springfield. We respectfully ask you or the district liaison to partner with us to craft a basic policy that will outline how this program may best be offered to the district's schools. We also respectfully ask that you join us to positively influence the academic, performance, and character development of Springfield schools
Karen.
and students, one school at a time and one student at a time.
Karen.
Thank you very much.
Our final public speaker this evening is Mary Byrne.
Good evening. The Springfield News Leader published an article titled "Group Says SPS Cuts Parents Out of Gender Identity Decisions, Records Show Otherwise." The article addressed the sunshine request of parents defending education to obtain district documents pertaining to students who identify as transgender or non-binary. The article quoted an SPS spokesperson stating, "Our practices outlined in those documents make it clear that parents and guardians are key to navigating these sensitive issues with students. It is unfair and incorrect to suggest otherwise." While it is true that correspondence and conferencing with parents are recommended in the documents titled Transgender Student Recommendations and Student Pronoun Recommendations, recommendations are not enforceable as policy. The recommendations documents are buried under links in a document unavailable to the public on the SPS website. A search for 2024-2025 administrative practices and procedures in the SPS website search box resulted in a link to the 2024-2025 budget, not the document I searched for. The tactics of labeling these documents as recommendations rather than policy, which is wordplay, and burying them in an internal document, which is concealment, suggest that administration was bypassing the board, which is responsible for developing and approving policy, as well as suppressing information from the public. These recommendations should still result in the alleged incident reported in the paper last April involving 2 SPS teachers who reportedly kidnapped a student when the student wanted to transition to another gender, but the family was not supportive. The Transgender Student Recommendations document elevated pronoun choice to a student right. Research reported in the American Journal of Psychiatry found 61% of patients with cross-gender identification also suffered from other psychiatric disorders. Autism Research News reported a study that confirmed elevated rates of autism and other neurodevelopmental and psychiatric diagnoses and autistic traits in transgender and gender-diverse individuals. CDC data released October 10 indicates that 30% of Missouri high school students who identify as other or questioning reported experiencing physically forced sexual intercourse and sexual violence. These children have compromised capacities for processing long-range consequences of their choices. So is the administration protecting vulnerable students or obstructing them from getting appropriate care? The recommendations do not address the rights of teachers whose conscience does not allow them to support gender ideology. I refer you to Merriweather versus Hartop 2021, and Vlaming versus West Point School Board, 2024. Note that Article 1, Section 5 of the Missouri Constitution states, "No human authority can control or interfere with the rights of conscience." I make this recommendation, that the board investigate the administration's deceptive practices of wordplay and concealment in the promulgation of these documents to protect the board, the students, and the employees of SPS from future negative consequences.
Thank you, Mary. That concludes our public comment portion of our meeting, which moves us to item 4, our consent agenda. I will entertain a motion that the board approve consent agenda items 4.01 through 4.07. Motion from Board Member Thomas Tate. Do I have a second? Second from Board Member McCoskey, and we will vote at this time. Not showing. I'm going to start taking votes on everything. The motion that the board approve consent agenda items 4.01 through 4.07 passes 6 in favor and 1 abstention. That moves us to item 5.01, the adjustment of boundary between Mann Elementary and Jeffries Elementary. Board members, we've received this information previously, and we've had multiple small meetings prior to this evening to ask questions of the superintendent and her staff. At this time, I will entertain a motion that the Board of Education approves the boundary adjustment as presented between Mann and Jeffries.
May I make a comment?
We could
Before we vote?
usually do a motion second, then comment. Motion from Board Member Thomas Tate. Do I have a second? Second from Board Member Provance. And Susan, I'll turn the floor over to you.
I want to apologize. Go to Kansas City, state school board meetings, and I caught COVID. But I would like to make a few comments about all this. I'm only going to speak once, and I'll get my terrible voice out of here. I would first like to address all of the Mann parents. Obviously, your kids love the school district, and they don't just love the school district because they love their teachers and it's a great school, but it's the support from home. And I know that that is very important. And one of the first things that I had to do before I voted was to talk to Dr. Latham, Dr. Shaw, that helped come up with all of this, and that was to guarantee the transfers. And I did find out some information. I do realize for a transfer that your attendance and no discipline things come into play. But I will tell you that Dr. Latham's word is golden. If she says you have a transfer and you fulfill the requirements of a transfer, that she will take care of that. Her word's golden. That's a win. I would like to recognize the overcrowding at Sunshine School because that is one of our greatest needs is it's not fair that we've got teachers in the classroom. It's not fair they're overcrowded. It affects the student learning. It's definitely not fair to the teachers that carry that extra burden. And we need to take care of that problem. And in taking care of that problem, I know that we need to move the boundary lines. So I want to consider that a win for Sunshine, that we're going to get you above capacity and get those students to school under capacity. I want to look at the advantages of busing. There are so many advantages. Putting your child on an SPS bus is the safest way to get your child to and from school. Mr. Manley and the Teamsters, they train our bus drivers. We had that great bus driver last year that took care of that crisis, demonstrated how well their training helps them. Our mechanics, our bus personnel, they keep our buses safe. We've passed every safety record with honors. And now we have cameras on our buses. So being able to reduce the mileage from 1.5 to 1 and putting more than 1,100 kids on those school buses is a tremendous win for the school district. I see Mr. Keith Adams back there. The way that you came up with this plan, these are emotional issues. These are issues that involve our student safety. They're issues that affect our teachers from being overburdened, and it also affects our student learning. And the plan that you came up with, it really brought it together. And I can't thank you enough for putting this together for our district. And I am.
Thank you, Board Member Provance. Are there any other comments or discussion items on Agenda Item 5.01? Board Member Byrne.
So these things are, of course, never easy because they always do have very real, tangible impacts on individuals, and unfortunately, we have to make decisions that are best for the district as a whole, which leaves us in a position to make some tough decisions. So one of the speakers tonight, I'm looking at this information that she left for us. So I think I'll have a question here for Travis, maybe. I think what was asked is our border of man used to be Cox, and we're proposing to move it to Kansas, correct?
I don't have the map specifically in front of me, so I know that there's a barrier street that will be there, so that's why those students will gain eligibility for transportation.
Yeah, so that's important to note that whereas they are a little further away from Jeffries, they will get transportation now, as in before they did not, to Man. I think if I'm seeing this right, based on our small group meetings, it looks to me like the new boundary line being drawn on Kansas, and it makes sense to me because Kansas is not a very walkable street. It does make sense to draw a clear line there, and unfortunately that does leave a small portion of the neighborhood west of that that gets sent to Jeffries. This map that was one of the speakers showed us today proposes, well, why not just draw it down Kansas Expressway? And from my recollection, I think what I'm looking at here, just to answer that to answer that speaker that put this in front of us, I don't think there's many students, if any, between Kansas Expressway and Cox. So it wouldn't get us the necessary desired effect of actually moving the students from Man to Jeffries. So I just wanted to address that point. I did tour Man and Jeffries within the last year, and it was clear to me that Man is bursting at the seams and is having to utilize some creative spaces to do what they need to do. And I know that Sunshine is overcrowded as well. I do appreciate the district's effort to try and minimize these sorts of things and to. I do believe that that this proposal is the minimum necessary. We may have some larger issues to handle in the years to come, and I do appreciate that the district has taken what seem to be the issues that are most pressing and handled them now as and maybe give us some time to address what may be some larger boundary issues in the future.
Thank you. Thank you, Board Member Byrne. Are there further board comments at this time? Board Member Mohammed Khani?
Thank you for making that clarification, because I was looking at that map, and I would have to say I agree that if we moved the border to Kansas Expressway from Kansas Avenue, it wouldn't have the desired effect we want, which is to have some small shift of students for capacity reasons. So thank you for verifying what I was thinking. So as a parent, you know, I've had to move my kids in elementary school, and I understand that apprehension. But this is hard to say, but as those of us who have been through those younger years, in hindsight, it's sometimes you think back and you think that was probably maybe a good thing, and that it's not the mountain that comes before us. And I say that to you with a really heavy heart. I know where you're sitting, and I can just offer solutions to help the families that are struggling with this. And I know that Dr. Lathan, and I agree with Mrs. Provance on there are some, and we've had these conversations about there's attendance and behavior, but something else that Dr. Lathan has also told me, and this is my understanding, is that there's going to be considerable weight given, I don't want to say the word seniority, but the age of the child. So if a student's been there kindergarten through fourth grade, you know, that's the student that's likely going to get the transfer. I'm not going to make promises, but we've had these conversations, and I know that the district is aware of the families and the students, and it's going to do its very, very best to make sure the student gets what they need for them to be their very best self and to perform the best and to do the best. And I also heard that there was some significant apprehension about getting to know a school and getting to know the personnel and then having to make that shift. And perhaps, you know, we can look at events, that sort of thing, to allow these families to be able to have that same adjustment, because you missed out on, you know, all the events, the bash, and all the things that introduce you to that school. And I totally get that. And maybe for this transition period, Dr. Lathan's nodding. I'll keep going. So on this concept of grandfathering students, I just want to recap and say that I think that there is plans, especially for upper elementary students who satisfy the criteria. And then I've got to put this out there as well. I understand when we look at the data projections, and I hear the constituents who have said, well, there's not any development, and I agree. We all, I think, had some of our doubts when we heard the boundary studies, and we don't know, and nobody has a crystal ball. But I view this as, and maybe I'm wrong, but at least the way I view it when I go to make this difficult vote is that this is really a fluid situation. So we weren't even talking about this a year ago, right? This is more of a new process, but we anticipate that this is going to be the forecasted numbers. But if these forecasted numbers don't happen, there's no reason that this can't change again. I'm not saying it's going to. What I'm saying is that this isn't set in stone. It's not forever. And I know that all of us here on the board and the district look at this, and we keep this under advisement and consideration. And I know that there's something else coming up in terms of looking at some of the middle schools. So this isn't just a one and done type of deal, if that makes sense. So I'll stop there.
Thank you, Board Member Mohammed Khani. Are there other board member comments or questions at this time?
I think I want to come from a different approach at this. Yeah, we crunched the numbers, looked at capacity, moving boundaries and those type of things, but I want to come from my perspective to share with you that just because we move a student from one school to another doesn't necessarily make it a bad thing. Being 21 years in the service and moving my family every 3 years and having my students or my kids experience going to one school to another school, maybe a school in Japan, and then coming back to the United States and moving from one state to another state, which requires them to move to one school to another school. My experiences and I'll speak for my children since they're not here, okay, is that we actually experienced that when there were problems, maybe academically, and they moved to another school, that those their academic success had improved. There may be that when we moved from one school to another, there may have been some discipline issues because of the adjustments that they had to make. And I really, truly believe where my sons are today is that they actually had the opportunity to build character. They had the opportunity to have life experiences that they were able to adjust better than many of the other students that they attended in school. And I bring it to your attention too that when they do graduate high school and if they go on to college, they're going to experience this going from one room or another teacher to another professor to another. And so there's a lot of differences that in families on how they bring up their children, I think is probably the greatest impact. And yes, ideally, it would be nice that your children can go from, say, K through 8 and hardly make any moves and adjustments. But I would gander to say that they could really benefit from this. It's not always a bad thing. And so I feel what you're saying. I mean, we've had some experiences, and God bless my wife, when I'm gone and she was there to address them and I wasn't there, that makes it even worse. And so I say that the opportunity to experience the different cultures, to go around to different schools, that they learn to adjust. Children are very resilient, and they will adjust to their environments. But then again, it would be nice just if we can just stay the course in one school. But unfortunately, life is going to bring changes, and I think from a parent standpoint, I don't want to be you, but I'll be me, and that is that I want to make the best of it for my children wherever that they go to school. And so I just wanted to offer that up in this vote that we're up ahead for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Board Member McCoskey. Are there further board member comments or questions? Did you have any? Board Member Bruner.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight and for the due diligence that you've obviously given to this very important issue and vote. When we get into these types of situations, it's never easy, and as a parent and now a grandparent, it can cause families to grieve, and I get that, and that's hard. But I will tell you that the different scenarios presented, we've looked at any number of options, and very thoroughly, in my opinion, with multiple meetings in small groups and larger groups. And I will tell you, as a former employee and the former principal over at Central, these discussions started happening in 2019 and 2020 in terms of a citywide meeting or group, task force, I guess, maybe that was what it was called, that I served on, where we looked at the real struggles we have when students aren't eligible to ride buses. At that point, I looked at it from a high school lens, but I knew we needed to expand our busing opportunities. So there was a real emphasis at the district level to try to address that with community input. And we were able to reach consensus, and then COVID happened. And that just threw everything up in the air, which presented challenges that we found ourselves as educators at that time having to be very reactive rather than proactive with our decisions. So that made it more challenging. So the reduction of mileage and that sort of thing, the different tiers, that all kind of went to the back burner because all of a sudden we didn't have enough drivers and just a variety of reasons. So I can promise and I can guarantee that after many, many hours of consideration, not only from board members, but even more so from our leadership team, Director of Transportation, Dr. Lathan, all of the group that came together and really tried to solve this complicated problem and emotional problem. The district administrative team really did, in my opinion, based on everything I know, developed a plan to meet two very critical needs. First of all, to expand busing, and this opportunity expands it by 1,100 students that could become eligible for busing that no longer, or that don't have it currently. That, to me, is huge. It also addresses some of the immediate needs of overcrowding in some of our schools, and that's a problem. That's a problem for kids, it's a problem for staff, and although I am confident students are getting a good education in Springfield Public Schools, that's an unnecessary hurdle when you put students and staff into spaces that were not necessarily designed for that activity of learning. I do want to assure you this was not a hasty decision nor a last-minute decision. It's been, in my opinion, well thought out, and different options have been laid before us. The board has given feedback to Dr. Lathan and her team. She takes that, she massages things as she needs to, or they do, and tries to make the very best decision that they can. I am confident, as I'm listening to my fellow colleagues on the board, as well as listening to Dr. Lathan, I'm confident that the district will work with families to get through all of this in terms of working with the transfer policy. And I correct me if I'm wrong, one speaker indicated that you had to apply for a transfer every year. I'm thinking that once you're given a transfer, you may remain in that school, providing there is not an issue with attendance or behavior. Is that correct, Dr. Lathan?
It is reviewed on an annual basis.
Okay.
We do review it.
Okay, based on numbers of kids?
The students, and then also, like I said, the attendance and the
Okay.
discipline, and we will give careful consideration as we go through this process.
Okay.
As it relates to those students that are currently there.
Okay, good to know, good to know. So anyway, I'm confident that a decision will make the right decision tonight. I certainly hope so, but I really do believe that a lot of people have given a lot of time and energy and really studied this very, very closely to come up with the best decision we could under difficult situations.
I don't want to spend a whole lot of time because I think many of the points that my board members have already stated I agree with, but I just want to reiterate and recognize the challenges that parents are facing with regards to this change. And change is hard. We are a large growing district, and we have not adjusted many of our boundaries in many years. We do recognize that we will need to reevaluate our utilization of our buildings on a regular basis and to address these boundaries frequently. I also just want to reiterate that what Ms. Bruner said. I also was on that task force looking at facilities back in 2018 and 19. So this has not happened overnight. We've been talking about these boundaries and the need to adjust them for a long time as we looked at all of our buildings in the district, recognizing that there was not an even distribution of students across the district, and that poses problems for overcrowding and undercrowding with regards to the utilization of our schools and what happens in the classroom with students who are in very large, dense classrooms, both for the students learning and for the teachers. So these options have to be weighed, not just for individual students, but for the whole district. And I know that the staff and administration and the board, we spend a lot of time really evaluating the options, and the options that we came up with, I do stand by them and think they are the best option for where we are today.
Thank you, Board Member Thomas Tate. Briefly, before we circle back around to the board members, I want to make a few comments. I want to reiterate that if you are happy in the elementary school that you're presently at, please do reapply there. One of the things that I love about SPS is all the families I talk to promise me that their elementary school is the best elementary school. And I think that that is true for every single parent and guardian out there, but rest assured that there are also wonderful other elementary schools. Keith Adams, the Director of Transportation, thank you for the time that you and your team have spent on this. We have over 100 different bus routes. I'm very curious to see how many bus routes the city has. And it is amazing to me logistically that you are able to do that, because when you transfer even over one street or add 5 more kids on a school bus, how that can then have a trickle-down effect on every single other bus route there. So thank you. I remember when we were in our small group meeting and you advised us that changing these boundaries not only meant that we could reduce the amount of mileage that an elementary school student had to walk from 1.5 miles to school down to just 1 mile per school, or to get to school, but also that we were going to make over 1,100 students more eligible to ride buses. And the cost for that was just 3 more added buses than we currently have. I was in shock. I asked many people, if you had to walk 1.5 miles just to work every day and then 1.5 miles back home from work every day, do you intend to go when it starts snowing outside or raining outside? And you're getting paid to do that. And so when you've got elementary school students who maybe don't have the best support group at home, it is very important to me that we make it accurate as it can be. And so I do rely on that. But I also don't take it lightly that it's disruptive to the families that we're impacting. I don't think any board member wants to be disruptive to any families or cause grief within the home. But again, we have to look at what's going to be best for all of our students. And now I will turn it over, if Board Member Provance, if you had any further comments. Okay. Board Member Byrne.
Dr. Thomas Tate, I think you said it very well. I agree. And I just wanted to say to the families who came tonight, thank you for your input and for reaching out by email as well. Certainly sparked some questions in my mind that I was able to ask and dive in a little bit deeper. Unfortunately, it is in my position on the board to make the best decisions for the school district and not for individual families and students. And I know that you know what's best for your families and your kids, and it's not my position to tell you why to think about this any differently than you're going to, and nor should you, or would you listen to me. But I did want to make one final point as we dove in on this, and a lot of scenarios were discussed along the way and other issues regarding boundaries that may come up in the future. What was clear to me on these particular ones that we're making a decision on tonight is that these are pressing in terms of schools that have crowding issues today. It is not, these are not really so much dependent upon that demographic study, which I certainly have concerns with, questions about, I guess, and would like to see some verification on as we make other decisions. But these are more pressing as we know now that they have crowding issues, and those are things that need to be done now as we continue to address the other issues that are based on projections.
Thank you, Board Member Byrne. Board Member Muhammad Khani, did you have anything further?
Well, I was going to have some private words with the two families that had emailed us and came tonight, but then it dawned on me that I might not have that opportunity. So I'm just gonna say it because I think it's worth me not missing you. I don't know if you're gonna stick around. This is sort of in the vein of what Mr. McCoskey said. So I went to 7 different schools for my K-12 years, and I told myself that that was not going to happen to my children. So I get where you're coming from, and I had to make the decision to move 2 of my children during elementary years, and it seemed very daunting at the time. But now that I have 2 adult children, and I look back, I realize that those were the very same reasons that there is success, that I've been met with success, and that I see my children still developing. So there's my parent hat. I'm also going to put my doctor hat on. I think Mr. McCoskey said it really well, that children are resilient. They are designed precisely for this, and that is the age that is best. So they're going to face a lot of adversity in their life. And I think that good things will come of this. I think that parents will struggle, and what is certainly traumatic for the parents is a learning experience for children. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go out on the limb and make a prediction here. I think that your kiddos will be very successful, in part because I do believe that Jeffries will be equally nurturing and safe as Horace Mann is, but mostly because you are the parents and you are involved. I have no doubt that your kids will be fine and they will be successful.
Thank you. Okay. Board Member Thomas Tate, did you have anything for that? Okay. Okay, we have a motion on the table regarding item 5.01, adjustment of boundary between Mann Elementary and Jeffries Elementary. There's a motion and a second, and at this time we will vote. The motion carries 7-0. That moves us to item 5.02, adjustment of boundary between Sunshine Elementary, Twain Elementary, and Holland Elementary. I will entertain a motion at this time.
So moved.
Motion from Board Member McCoskey. Do I have a second? I'll second it. Second from Board Member Muhammad Khani. Are there any board comments at this time? Okay, seeing none, I think that we talked about it at length under 5.01. So seeing none, we have a motion and a second under 5.02, and we will now vote. The motion under 5.02 passes 7-0. That brings us to item 5.03, adjustment of boundary between Westport K-8 and Pipkin Middle School. I will entertain a motion at this time.
So moved.
Motion from Board Member McCoskey. Do I have a second? Second. Second from Board Member Thomas Tate. Any further discussion from the board at this time? Seeing none, we will vote. The motion under agenda item 5.03 passes 7-0. That brings us to item 5.04, relating to the middle school boundary adjustments. I will entertain a motion that the Board of Education approve the deployment of an advisory committee to provide recommendations on adjustments to middle school and K-8 school boundaries for the 26-27 school year. Motion from Board Member Thomas Tate, second from Board Member McCoskey. Is there discussion on this item? Okay, seeing none, we will vote. Okay, the motion that the Board of Education deploy an advisory committee to provide recommendations on the middle school and K-8 school boundaries passes 7-0. That brings us to item 6.01, change orders and agreements, and Mr. Sean Dilday is here to present with us tonight.
Good evening, Board. So before you in your board packets is change order and agreements for the bond projects. Tonight, there's only 4 items on there, which is all related to technology for new construction. Is there any questions I can answer?
Any questions from the board at this time? Okay.
I had a quick question.
Sure. Board Member Muhammad Khani has a quick question. Sorry.
You know, it always says add on these. So is it an add in the sense that we're adding it now, or has this always been the plan and this is just when it's coming up for payment, or is it truly an add? Does that make sense, what I'm asking?
I believe so. So it is the purchase of this equipment in preparation for it being installed into the new building. So it's the purchase of the equipment to be purchased by the district and installed by the contractor.
Okay, so it's always been the plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion at this time that the board approve the expenditures as presented.
So moved.
Motion from Board Member Mohammed Khani. Do I have a second? Second from Board Member Thomas Tate, and we shall vote. The motion that the board approve the expenditures as presented passes 7-0. That brings us to item 7.01, Superintendent's update.
Good evening, board members. This week, our Transportation Department launched a pilot program that will improve safety and security and allow parents to know where their child's bus is in real time. Students at Field, Sherwood, Pershing, and Parkview will now scan an ID card when they enter or exit the bus. Parents will be able to use the Where's the Bus app to monitor their child's route to and from school. Next semester, all schools will participate in the program. I'd like to remind everyone that Election Day is 2 weeks from today. On November 5th, voters will be casting ballots at polling sites throughout our community, including several of our schools. However, students will not be in session on November 4th and 5th, which is an opportunity for our teachers to participate in professional learning activities. SPS University will be held Thursday, November 7th, and the focus will be providing strategies for parents to support their child's mental health. The event will be held at Kickapoo High School from 5 to 8 p.m. It will start with a resource fair and dinner at 5 p.m. We will host a mental health panel discussion at 6:15, which will be followed by breakout sessions at 7:15. Also tonight, following the board meeting, emails will be sent out to families of the impacted schools as it relates to the board's vote tonight. And so we also have scheduled parent meetings, and that information will be in the email that's sent out to parents and also staff members at those impacted schools. Also like to thank our parents that spoke tonight and also came out, because also in hearing your speech tonight, we realized that the demographic study previously that we've been referring to was not in that communication that went out last week. And so that information has been added to our FAQ. But once again, this goes back to discussions not only starting in 2019, but also last year throughout the process of the demographic study. Once again, thank you for to all the parents that we heard and responded to, and we will be out, like I said, at your individual sites, working with you and talking about the next steps in this process. That concludes my comments tonight, board members.
Thank you, Dr. Lathan. That brings us to item 8.01, board member comments. Are there board member comments this evening? Okay.
I think most of the board attended the Missouri School Board Association conference in Kansas City this past week. We had the opportunity to attend several professional development sessions ranging on various topics. I know that I learned a lot and had the opportunity to engage in conversation and discussion about various school board topics with other school board members from across the state. And also had the opportunity to hear several really inspiring keynote speakers who really left us feeling motivated and excited about what happens in the classroom and supporting our teachers to offer our students in this district the best opportunities for education.
Thank you, Board Member Thomas Tate. Further board member comments? Do you want to go? Do you want to go ahead?
Go back to, I'll go ahead and get started. Yes, I thought it was a fantastic Missouri School Board Association conference in Kansas City. Learned a lot, and it was weird not seeing people in the same concurrent sessions, but in a way that was good because we can bring different information back. And so I'll probably piecemeal it out in future board meetings. But tonight, I wanted to talk about the Artificial Intelligence Symposium that I attended for the second year in a row, very intentionally. And I have notes because I'm going to try to do a 6-hour symposium in 4.5 minutes. Okay, so artificial intelligence is a fast emerging technology, and nobody knows how it's going to play out, but it will play out, and we just need to get our arms around it. Today's AI uses generative technology, which means that the technology creates new content that is reasonable and random, which is very exciting. But since it's not calibrated to humans, it can very confidently make things up too. So it can be very problematic. So I learned a lot. I learned what it can do for education. It does some things really well. For example, it can do lesson plans, tutoring, translating language fluidly, or writing IEPs, but then it doesn't do other things really well, for example, grading papers. One thing I saw throughout the symposium was caution signs everywhere I looked, because there are currently no guardrails on AI. It truly feels like the wild, wild west. But then I had to sit back and consider that the technology that our students are using today is going to be the oldest technology they will ever use. And so when you think about it that way, it really brings AI literacy to the forefront of what we need to do to deliver for our kids. And so the question that I think we should be asking ourselves is, will our students be competitive for future jobs where they will indeed use and interact with artificial intelligence? And this is regardless of where they land, because it is truly everywhere. I didn't believe it until I showed up and it was demonstrated to me. So there were some big takeaways. I know I'm talking a little too fast, but I'm going to try to get through this. So one of the big takeaways was centered on the importance of policy and approaching it through guided principles. There was some hesitation with policy, I sense, because it's so rapidly changing. And unlike other policies, that you can review every 2, 3, or even annually in terms of years, you really have to keep your finger on this one. It's almost like every quarter, which makes districts or boards hesitant to jump on board. It begins with processes that guide practices, and it truly requires continuous training using closed systems that are created exclusively to be used and specifically for districts. The Lindbergh district seemed to be the district that's blazing the trail. They started with removing cell phones from the classrooms a couple years ago, alongside intentionally bringing AI in. I thought they were very impressive. The technology director from Lindbergh, and that district is, if I recall, about 7,500 or 7,300 students, so not little, but not huge. So that technology director, along with technology directors from other districts, meet once a month by Zoom to share and really to develop collective best practices in what I would consider uncharted territory. So I'll pass that information along to Bruce and Dr. Lathan. I think it might be worth just listening in every once in a while. And then I also spent an hour in front of an attorney who scared the daylights out of me. Let me list some of the nuggets I took away from that, and I'll go through this real fast, and then I'll wrap up. One is, if you're going to bring AI into the classroom, you have to start talking and training for at least a year before you make any sort of a move. You have to train the staff first to use it personally in their own personal lives so that they understand it. And that is a key component of implementation that cannot get skipped. Have to have attorneys even as we speak today. So this is not having to do with AI bringing it in, but just right now, attorneys not to just look at vendor contracts to ensure FERPA privacy compliance, but all addendums, because that's where they get you. I didn't realize this before. The fact is that none of what we're doing, none of our software, none of our platforms were ever designed for schools. And because they're bringing AI in without us even knowing about it, they're not FERPA compliant. And so we have to be vigilant with every update. This applies to apps and their updates. They have to be airtight contracts. The other thing that was really repeatedly emphasized, that no app should ever be downloaded onto any district software, any Chromebook, without the district reviewing the terms of usage and agreement, which really translated into reading the fine print, you know, the one that you always agree to. They want you to actually read it each and every time, not when you first sign up, but for every update, because they are literally embedding AI on a weekly basis into these softwares, and nobody is thinking that this is going to be FERPA and students. I'm almost done. Sorry. Another one was when your contracts expire, when you change vendors, you got to make sure the data is purged. I didn't realize people weren't doing that. And lastly, and I mean, the list is long, but one of the other ones I thought I should mention is strengthening vendor contracts on data breaches. And when you go to do that now, they won't be surprised because somebody else is blazing that trail. Tons of lawsuits are happening. 2 weeks ago out of Massachusetts. I'll tell you guys about it later. But really, bottom line is, I walked away from that symposium knowing that, you know, we have to come to grips with AI. I'm not in any way advocating for AI, but I feel like I now understand its potential, and I think it's important that we harness it, because AI is not going to go away. We need a balanced approach because our graduates will live in an AI-infested world. We have to proceed, but do so carefully to protect our students' privacy and our district legally as we move forward. And I'm going to end with the Missouri School Board Association has a fantastic toolkit that's online on AI, and I encourage all of you to check it out. Thank you for giving me some grace.
Thank you, Board Member Mohammed Khani. She had asked me previously if she could combine her 2 5-minutes together. So since we're just on board comments, and figured that was fine. Okay. Board Member Berdner, did you have anything?
Just a little bit. A couple of things. I love beginning every school board meeting with students leading the pledge. I think that is so fun and wonderful. And then we move into honoring excellence, and I think that's equally cool. Now I'm showing my age because I just said cool. But regardless, I mean, it really is very touching, I think, and very meaningful, especially for the families that are involved with that. It's certainly meaningful for me. I, too, enjoyed the state MSBA conference, got to spend some time with my colleagues that are sitting up here with me, as well as learning from other people. And it's evident to me that regardless of the size of your district or where you may be located in our wonderful state, we are all experiencing the same sorts of issues and frustrations and challenges and wonderful experiences. So we are far more similar than we are different, regardless of the demographics of a community. I thank you, Dr. Lathan, for the Mental Health Day that you gave the opportunity for our employees to have last Friday. I think it's wonderful that you honored all employees with that. We are blessed in Springfield Public Schools with a lot of excellence, honoring excellence, whether we're noting it at the beginning of a meeting or just when you meet people and watch them do their jobs. All of the jobs in Springfield Public Schools, none of them are easy. It's just that good people make them look easy, whether it's teachers, administrators, counselors, administrative assistants, maintenance, food service, bus drivers. They're all working hard, and they all deserve our thanks and our appreciation.
Thank you, Board Member Bruner. Just to echo a few things that my fellow board members said, I was only at MSBA for one day, but it was the president's, what did you call it? Retreat, I don't even know, but it's always interesting to visit with other board members across the state, and I appreciate their feedback on everything. Yes, thank you, to echo what Board Member Bruner said, thank you for the Mental Health Day. I hope that all employees had an opportunity to take a walk, pick up a book and read, or just sit around in their pajamas and get some things caught up, so thank you. And you didn't mention this Thursday is a special day, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
I have it on my calendar this time, and Board Member Rakowski, don't forget.
Send a picture.
Drop everything and read day this Thursday. It's on my calendar, so there's time set aside for it, so I'm looking forward to that as well. Okay, any other board member comments? All right, seeing none, I will entertain a motion that we adjourn the meeting. Board Member Provance, thank you. Do I have a second? Second from Board Member Thomas Tate, and we will vote. And while we're voting, I should mention our next meeting is November 19th. We will have a combined meeting. The motion that the board adjourn passes 7-0. Have a good evening.